Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at the Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. My name is Debbie Heiser. I have the unique opportunity that I absolutely love to help men and women unlock the chains that bind them and allow them to find freedom. We have freedom right now. It's just a matter of finding it within ourselves. So along with that, I help entrepreneurs make a lot of money doing what they love to do without sacrificing what's important to them. And I am coming off of a retreat. I'm recording this in September. This will come out in October. And I'm just coming off of a retreat that I hosted in Belize for the Lit Up Year, which is our mastermind. And I was just reminded of like how grateful I am in so many ways. And that led me to be thinking of this idea of the law of correspondence. So today, I'm going to dig into the law of correspondence. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this mastermind that I run called the Lit Up Year. And, because as the Lit Up Life, the name of my company, I want to help people lead the life that allows them to feel lit up. Life is too short not to. So with that in mind, let me tell you a little bit about the mastermind. So the mastermind, although I work with men and women, the mastermind that I do currently, not opposed to doing one with both men and women or even couples that are in business together. But as of right now, it consists of women. It's a year-long program, hence the Lit Up Year, that we do virtual calls during the month and then twice during the year. So for 2025, I have one starting in January. It'll start mid-January. And then we will head the first weekend in February to the Dominican Republic to stay at this beautiful all-inclusive resort that we stayed at last year. It's on the beach, so it's warm during February for those of us that live up north. And then in September, I haven't finalized anything yet. Belize was so phenomenal that there's this tug of wanting to go back there, but I'm also looking at London in September, more than likely the third or fourth weekend of September. And we really dig into the universal laws. We dig into the energy of money. That's what we just studied this weekend, and about how the metaphysical are the ideas, the intentions, those things that play into the thoughts that we have, and then how we reach this, as she calls it, the border and our monkey mind, or those, questions, the imposter syndrome, all those things start to come out as we start to move it into form, which is the law of transmutational energy, which I want to go back to that because I have my little sheet here around that. And the law of perpetual transmutation of energy says substance can be transformed, right? Like it can be transmuted, but it can't ever be destroyed. So substance constantly goes from a formless state into a physical state and back again. And it's the progressive creative operation of the universe. And so bringing it to form then allows for it to come forward from the thoughts and intentions that you have. So we talk about the law of money, we get into that. We also create our vivid vision for our life and for our business, because, part of this is about looking into business. Now, it was interesting. I was working with a client that had said, I don't know if I fit in because I'm not building a business. I like my business the way it is, but I'm also trying to really understand who I am and all the different roles that I've played that have maybe masked some of who I have been. And so this mastermind doesn't mean that you want to grow this humongous business. You might, and that's perfect too. We'll work on that. But it's really about, how do you lead a lit up life? And that includes a lot of things. Business and finance are two of those, but it involves relationships, all sorts of things. So with that being said, that's what that year looks like. You can find more information out on my website. I would love to host you. It is exclusive, meaning when I say I'm very inclusive, but what I mean by exclusive is there are only 8 seats. I will go up to 10, but I won't go past 10. I'll run a second one if I end up with more people that want to join. But as of right now, I'm a quarter sold out. So, and that's as of September. So take a look at it. I would love to host you. It is so much fun. And the growth that I see in people, and you're going to hear some more testimonials about that, and the growth people feel and see in themselves is just, it fills my cup. It's why I do what I do. So, with that being said, let's dig into this law of correspondence. And basically, what it says is it's very similar to the law of vibration, meaning like vibration attracts like vibration. And we are vibrating at a certain frequency, which then vibration has to precede form. So, what it says is that the universe, for me, that's God, the divine, will respond equally as I respond to it. So, meaning that if I begin my day with praise, I begin my day with thanks and gratitude towards the universe, or for me, it's God, then what happens is my inside changes. We had some discussion, excuse me, this weekend around, like I get be it till you become it. I get that, like, I'm saying things that maybe I am looking to become and I want to be, but I'm not there yet. So what happens if I don't believe it? And the belief starts to happen as you continue to step in that way. So as it is on your inside, so it is on the outside, meaning whatever your heart shows, that's kind of what comes out of that, right? So your external or physical world is a reflection of your inner world. So kind of two things play into that, like your environment. I've been really focusing on my environment, trying to get rid of clutter, because I used to be that person that hid behind the clutter and the busyness in my schedule. And don't get me wrong, there's days that I am busy, but there's a lot of evenings I go home and I don't have anything planned, and it feels kind of nice. But what I'm trying to say there is, like, even looking around your home, looking around at your car, looking around at your office, at your closet, at the cabinets or drawers that you have, like, that is a reflection of what's inside as well. And that's just kind of an applicable, like, relevant physical thing to help you with understanding that. So if you want to change your life, though, um, you must first change your feelings, your thoughts, and your perceptions. So this comes from a woman who has a podcast called The Badass Manifester. And that's so true, because then the same thing holds true to change our feelings, our thoughts, and our perceptions. What we focus on gets bigger. So if we're focused on, so if I drew a circle and there was just a small piece left out, where do you focus? You focus on what's not there, what's missing. Now your brain completes the circle, but you focus on that area. And we live in a world that focuses on what's missing. And so if you can start your day by thinking about all of the things that you're grateful for, there is science behind how it changes your brain to have gratitude, to give thanks about things, to praise things. When I think about even working with clients, giving them compliments to their character and their actions, it is amazing to see the transformation that happens. We all crave, because there's so much dissension in our world. And so I'm also going to lovingly challenge you to think about complimenting someone's character. I know I'm guilty of this too. And not that I have to feel guilty, but the point being is, like, I know I will say to people, "Oh my gosh, I love your shoes," or "I love your hair," or "Your eyes look fantastic." But as you know people more, compliment their character, compliment something about who they're being in the world, not just doing, right? Because we attach love to achievement. We attach love to we have certain things, when in fact it's who we're being. What is the essence of who you are? Now, part of what comes into this too, though, with business people is a couple of things. One is this idea of the law of receiving, because when we think about how we respond to the universe and how the universe or God responds to us, giving is the first fundamental law of life, the first law of creation. So giving without expectation and giving habitually, now not at the expense of yourself, right? Like we have to be filled. We have to have our worth. We have to have those things and continue to work on them because they're a journey. Like don't wait until it's all there. Because frankly, I don't know if that ever happens, right? But it's just layers. But giving without expectation is very different than giving expecting something in return. And I will tell you too, as the person that gives, it's almost it hurts my heart a little bit actually when I'm giving and someone feels like they have to pay me back, right? I would just rather someone accept the gift. Now, the law though says that giving you shall receive. So I also, when that happens, I receive graciously. Um, and that's okay, right? Like I had a friend of mine one time, I loaned her my car and to go pick up someone at the airport. And people just aren't used to that sometimes. And so then there was this idea of I need to give back to you. It was awesome. She did a service for me. And that's the law of reciprocity, but I didn't expect it, right? I didn't expect her to do anything. I just generously out of my heart gave my car. Now I had that happen this morning. One of the folks that was in the mastermind lives in Canada and she flew in and out of Spokane with all of us, well, most of us. And so she spent the night at my house last night. We went and had breakfast this morning and she bought my breakfast. And I said, "Why are you buying my breakfast?" And she's like, "Why am I buying your breakfast?" I'm like, "You know what? Point well taken. I teach this stuff. Thank you." Right. And so we have to be able to receive too. And when we give from the heart without the intention of receiving, God, the universe, it shows an abundance mindset and the true nature of our heart. But we have to also be able to receive, right? So when we receive, that also shows an abundance mindset and the true nature of our heart that we can receive. We feel worthy of receiving something. And the spirit of the gift brings back the same spirit. So if I'm giving out of resentment, I'm going to get resentment back, right? If I'm giving expecting something, then when other people give to me, they're going to expect something. A lot of times I kind of joke with one of my best friends, and because she'll just say to somebody, "Oh, I love that jacket," and they'll take it off and give it to her. And I think that happens because she gives so generously. Like things that she owns, she looks at them as things. There's not an emotional attachment to it, excuse me. And so that's a perfect example of how, like, in the same spirit, she'll have clients bring her flowers. She'll have clients bring her, she just got a pair of shoes from somebody that are these really cool shoes. But anyway, so allowing the God's vastness to prevail instead of limiting what we can receive within our own personal beliefs, right? A lot of times I know me growing up in the church, I heard over and over again, it's better to give than it is to receive. Yes, I want to give. We also, it's an and, need to be open to receive from others. So I don't want to get too far into the background of my faith in Christianity because I see a lot of Christians struggle with being able to receive, and that is a huge thing. So anyway, the law of correspondence talks about receiving and being able to receive because we're giving gratitude, we're responding to the universe or God in the way that says we are giving and we're also able to receive. The other thing with this too is that when we are working on the inside of who we are, knowing your values and who you want to be is really important. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be right back with the rest of this episode. Are you a woman who's worn out from wearing all the hats that we wear and you're really ready for a break? Well, join us for an empowering experience in beautiful Sandpoint, Idaho from October 24th to the 27th. This exclusive retreat is designed for women just like you. The Cast Your Vision retreat will have transformative workshops, expert guidance and coaching from me, and a supportive community to hold your hand along the way. Don't miss this opportunity to invest in yourself and your future. Get crystal clear on who you want to be and make that dream into a reality. Register today with the link in the show notes. Hope to see you there. All right, we are back, and we're talking now about, within the law of correspondence, this idea of knowing your values, knowing who you want to be, what's your intentions in this world, allows you then to take authentic and inspired action. So within the law of correspondence, this idea of giving praise and thanks and gratitude to the universe or God, to the divine, changes our insides. And when it changes our insides, it allows us to live in congruency with our values, who we want to be, and then allows us to take inspired, authentic action. So part of this inspired action is preparing to receive, that demonstrates our active faith, right? That we have faith that things will be provided to us. Now, when you prepare and take inspired action, this stimulates your interest and enlarges your view while dispersing doubt and fear, which allows you to energize your power to receive. So let me back up and kind of explain what that means. When I prepare, meaning I know my values, I know who I want to be, I've got my compass as to what kind of actions I'm going to take. I understand what I want. I have faith, and you've heard me talk before, if you followed me for any amount of time, that I don't need to know all 820 steps. I need to know the first step and know it and take that step. And then when I take that step, I need to have faith that the next step will appear. It's not just going to fall off. So that's part of that idea of energizing the power of moving forward. But we have to be open to receiving that message. If we're not open to receive, we don't trust, we don't have faith that the next step will appear for us, because we're not open to receiving what the next step is. Hence why I see a lot of people in confusion and chaos, because they're questioning. We've been taught to question our own intuition, right? And for me, when I think about the universe or I think about God, if I have the Holy Spirit in me and I open up as a channel to that, that's just pure faith right there that it's going to show up. So acting as if. So a lot of times in my retreats, we'll talk about who is the woman that you want to be, and act as if you have it today, because you do. If you are a man or woman and you say, I want X, Y, and Z, I want to be like this, then that means you have the capacity to do it or have already been that way. You just don't see it in yourself. And when you ask other people to describe you, a lot of times it's very different than we describe ourselves. So this inspired action asks you to act as if. Act as if something is already taking place, right? That it's already here, because it is here and it's all here now. So desiring one thing also and expecting another in your heart confuses the universe. It confuses God. And what happens, and this is where I talk about loyalty pacts and double binds, because we say we want something, but yet there's something else that's a deeper want, a stronger want, that then allows for this not to happen, whether that be that we do things that get in the way or we don't take action, like something that's happening because that is not the actual desire in our heart. Now, it may be the true desire, but there's something else that holds us back. Some of you have heard the story where I wanted to step out into my own business for many years, and I didn't. The safety of having a paycheck come in every 2 weeks was a part of that I uncovered, that was a deeper desire. Security, right, was a deeper desire. Because as an entrepreneur, cash flow isn't always the same every month. And so you just have to organize differently is all. And so as I desired that, then another layer came out about my mom, right? Saying that she thought that was why she got breast cancer, was the stress of owning her own business, and realizing that doesn't have to be my story. So I wanted one thing, but I expected something different. And some of you may have heard me talk about this story before, where in ancient times they were experiencing a drought and a prophet came to town, and the whole town was like, what's happening? Why are we not getting rain? And back in those days, they used to have to put rain pots out to gather the rain, and that was some of their fresh water. So as the prophet's looking around, he's realizing there's no rain pots out. So they say they wanted rain, but yet they didn't have the rain pots out to be prepared and therefore able to receive. And so they weren't expecting it to happen. This is a big one. I see a lot of people have a desire, but then they don't expect it to happen, whether it's they lack belief or faith or whatever it is. And so I would ask you, think about that. If you have something in your life right now, like that you want, is there something that's holding you back that might be causing sadness or frustration because you're not doing the thing, right? And I did that in quotations for those of you listening. And sometimes it's that we think we should be doing something, right? And that's not inspired action, that's confusion. You know, it took a lot for me to pick up and move from Kansas City and move to Idaho. I knew in my heart that's exactly where I needed to go. I had a good friend, Lori Mallory, shout out to her, that came to visit, and I hadn't seen her in a long time. And she asked me, why Idaho? And I said, I don't know, I just felt like I needed to be here. And she said, if you didn't come here for anything else, you came here for your grandchildren, because my son was dating his now wife at the time, and she met both of them. And I believe that. I believe part of that was then also to get my son up here and meet his co-partner, his wife, right? So that inspired action, it's about desiring one thing. If we expect something different or we don't believe it's going to happen, that's confusing. If you struggle with belief, reach out to someone like me. If you struggle with not being able to potentially see where you're lacking belief or lacking the expectation, reach out to me, reach out to someone that is able to see it through a different lens. So, the law of correspondence, it's about being able to receive, giving, not with expectation, but giving, and not in the realm of giving more than what you physically, mentally, emotionally can handle, right? And when I say handle, meaning not at the expense of yourself. I see that so much. It's not about sacrificing. That turns you into a martyr. It's about, can you give and give it at 100%? Some of that's taking care of yourself physically, right? Then it's about knowing your values, who you want to be as your compass, so that you can take inspired action. One of the things that I hear people say is that they said yes to things they really didn't want to say yes to. I see a lot of this, especially when their kids are in school, saying yes to the PTA or saying yes to something that they really didn't want to do. And then they feel guilted or shamed themselves. Nobody else did it, but they feel guilty or shameful that they weren't able to provide, 6 dozen cookies for the PTA fundraiser. And it's okay to say to people, I'm just not available right now. There is nothing wrong with that. We don't have to justify, we don't have to go into the reasons. So the inspired action, sometimes when somebody once said to me, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And I truly believe that. If I don't feel it to my bones, like there's times I'll do things that I'm like, okay, and I don't feel strongly one way or the other about it. But if I feel strongly about it, I'm going to say no. Or if I feel like it's starting to put too much in my schedule, and that's something I'm still working with, because I don't know, I guess I still think I'm 20, and that, coming off of a 3-week traveling stint, that I can jump right into doing X, Y, and Z and having full days for 5 days, right? And so I'm realizing things about myself. It's a continued journey. And so I'm now trying to create some spaciousness to allow that to happen, right? Today, I had one client this morning at 8 o'clock, and then my day was completely open so that I could work on all of these things that I had been trying to get done for the month, that I had been trying to do, one of them recording these podcasts. So that's an example, right, of um, that inspired action, that authentic action, and doing that. Now, the third part of this is also forgiveness, because when we have grudges inside of us, when we have not forgiven ourselves for things, and I will say 99% of the time when I start to do a forgiveness practice on someone, meaning I'm trying to forgive them, it comes back where I need to forgive myself for something. So I'm just going to kind of read to you what I have in the in my laws. Forgiveness is powerful and it opens you up to receive. To forgive is to release the regrets of what's in the past. So if you have any regrets, list them out and start to release those, because it's powerful. The releasing of those allows for space to be and do what you want to be and do. When we hold grudges, when we have regrets, it takes up space in our heart and in our mind. Realize where you have characterized someone and then let go and forgive for the other's sake first. Meaning, don't always forgive for just you. Like, we know that it hurts your heart, it opens up your heart more. You actually get more benefit a lot of times than the other person. And sometimes you're forgiving them in your heart and not face to face. You don't have to make amends to everyone, but don't characterize them, right? Like, don't create this caricature of someone, or I've heard somebody else say demonize them, right? Of the actions that they did to you, because you don't want to fall into the victim triangle. And it's okay to play that for a bit to get the emotion out, but we want to make sure that we're letting go and forgiving with an intention, right? Because what we put out comes back with an intention that is for the other's sake. So check your judgments, check your resentments, check your fear associated to what you're forgiving. Now, what you're forgiving doesn't mean that you're okaying a behavior, right? Like, I was molested when I was 8 by an uncle who was 15 at the time. I have gone through a lot of forgiveness practice and I've forgiven him. He perished not long after that. Um, and I've really worked through that a lot, and I've forgiven him for doing that action without justification. I used to justify, oh, he was 15, his hormones were going crazy, and that's crap because he knew better, right? Like, he was 15, he knew better. But for me, what I've realized is I had to check my judgments, my resentments, and my fear, and forgive based on like wanting to release him and release myself from that. So check your judgments. And when you forgive another person, what happens is you allow the excuses or reasons for not then pursuing your desires to melt away. Right. And so you might have a desire to do something, but somewhere in there's some forgiveness that needs to take place, and it's holding you into that victim game, holding you into it's their fault that I haven't gone and done X, Y, and Z. So it allows that to melt away. And sometimes that scares people, right? Because then they don't have any more excuses to stand on and not do the action. So by forgiving, I mentioned you open space. It opens space in your mind, in your heart, and then you release the stronghold of others over you, because sometimes it's about also, when I talk power, I don't mean force. I mean, like, being powerful because you are divine. And what that does is it allows you to then stand in that power, and you're not giving power to someone else, because then that puts you in the victim role of the victim game. So you release that stronghold of others over you, and it releases yourself for success. It releases you to have that open space and fill it with what you want to fill it with, which then, if you've heard me talk about the vase, when all of that is coming into you, then people are getting your overflow versus getting resentment because you're tired and worn out because you've been pouring out into people and cutting off that supply. So again, the law of correspondence, that was a lot of stuff to throw your way. But I'm going to recommend to you that you just notice where you resist receiving. For a long time, I used to resist people buying me coffee, anything like that, opening a door for me, like simple things even about receiving. And so I know sometimes too, I get on an airplane and someone will help me put my luggage up. And I don't take offense to that. I used to be like, well, I can do that. I'm just, self-sufficient. And I'm realizing they're giving me a gift. And so then I just give gratitude and love to that person. So what's on the inside shows on the outside, both in your environment and in your actions. So clean it up. That's just what life is we clean that stuff up, right? We clean up our ability to receive. We take inspired action, knowing our values and who we want to be as far as like those intentions of who we are. We allow forgiveness to come into our heart, which then allows us to give praise, thanks, and gratitude towards the universe and towards God. So with that, folks, everyone have a fantastic week, and we'll see you here next week. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.
See the colors of the rainbow. You can find your own kind of free. The colors of the rainbow. Find your own kind of happy.